diversity. We only were missing a couple of things, and we added some things. What was a big thing in Site 1 that wasn't in Site 2? Well, fish.
Oh, the fish, yeah.
In Site 2, the biggest aquatic predator, top-level carnivore, were dragonflies. Turtles when they hit in there, frogs around the edges, but for swimming in the water all the time, which snake coming in and eats tadpoles, but major in the water predator was a dragonfly. We hit out there, we just added fish, multiple species of fish. You got more predators, less of the prey, all right? If you go into a body of water and you only get guys out of category 3, you can get into some pretty nasty water, take a scoop, and you may get 2,000 rat-tailed maggots, or you may get 4,000 aquatic worms and blood midge. That's big numbers, but your diversity is smaller that way. Once you move up to pretty good water and you start adding dragonflies, damselflies, those kind of guys, they're all predators. Category 3 are decomposers. Category 2 starts getting you into predators. You get more predators, less prey. You can hunt and find. We could go out there and really hit that hard, and we could find some more of the, we might get some leeches, and we got a few worms, we might get a few more. We can get midge, but we can hunt around in there and find some. But they're not hanging out, because if they pop their heads out, munch, they're being eaten. All right? Also, when you dug through that vegetation, the damselflies we were finding and the dragonflies much smaller than the ones up there. And they were hiding in those plants, because if they come out of those plants, all those hundreds of fish are munching on them. So as you increase your predators, your prey is harder to find. You hunt long enough, you can find it. I went out there, and what I did was I just grabbed a handful of vegetation and stuck it in a bucket, in a little cup, and brought it in. And when I dumped it in the tray, I had like 15 or 20 damselflies start coming out of it. And that's where the scuds and the mites and all that came from, because they're hiding up inside there so they don't get eaten. So when you increase your predator level, your prey animals will begin to disappear a little bit. Now, one thing that does separate Site 1 from Site 2 in particular is that mayfly, because mayfly is category 1, which means that water in that Site 1 is pristine. All right? We do get caddisflies out of there. We do get mayflies out of there. Last week I had a group here from Sam Noble Camp, and we put out insect lights at night. And within about 30 minutes, we probably had 4,000 mayflies on that sheet. They were just thick in there. And then we had some other very cool aquatic insects coming around there. But you wouldn't think of it when you first go out there and look at that site. You're kind of iffy. But that is some really good water. Now, I will tell you, it has changed over time. 10 years ago when I got here, it was not near the quality it is now. There were no mayflies in there. There were no caddisflies. The supplementing the upper wetland area above there as a big filter system from that horse manure has made that quality of water a lot better. The plants in there that were real thick, out a little bit, you had the coontail up along the edge. You had that kind of feathery stuff that when you got your hands in it, it smelled like skunks. Skunk weed, hard stuff to keep up with there. A little different than the stinkweed we had in the Site 2 around the edges, but another aroma. There were some floating plants on the surface, up in the shallow areas with the big broad leaves. Those were a pondweed. And then there was another water primrose that kind of floats out over the surface. So we had different plants in there. But with that submerged coontail and skunkweed, lots of place for organisms to hide. Lots of hidey spots. And if you didn't meticulously go through there, you would miss 95% of what was in there. And that's the thing, if you don't focus on it, and that comes in with practice and equipment and all that other stuff to be able to catch and look for those little things. But hopefully you saw a little bit with this.